Anybody else stay up a bit too late last night watching World Series baseball? Raise your hand. Guilty. Freddie. Man. It's a good time to be a Dodger fan, no matter how the rest of this series goes. This is quite a run for the old boys in blue. Welcome to Not a Baseball Show. This is Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball, presented by FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm Dan Vespris. This is also a Believe Podcast Network show. Today, we are recapping the Monday card as best our bodies can handle. And we'll give you guys all the ads, drops, and others from Monday evening. Please take a moment to subscribe. It's right there. However you're listening, watching this stuff, it's right there on your screen. It's so easy to hit. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. I haven't asked for a ton of ratings and reviews lately, but if you got a minute, drop those two. All right. Let's talk basketball. Orlando lost again. Uh-oh. Magic are off to not a great start. They're 1-3, but there's a long way to go. So hang in there, Magic fan. Better days are ahead. Paolo finally had a better ball game. He was due, was not shooting the ball well. And look, he's not going to be a high percentages guy. So you take the good with the bad. You take them all, and then you have Paolo Banchero. Wendell Carter Jr. might not hit 50% of his shots all year, it looks like. He's been a field goal and free throw percent mess. But his other stuff has actually been not terrible. Got 34 minutes here. That's probably your good news on Carter. He's not going to score that much. His rebounds have been decent. The defensive stats have been decent so far. I think he probably does profile as like a third, fourth string center. And he's likely over-rostered just because of the fact that he's a starting center in the NBA. So I don't know that he's going to be available in your leagues. But he has been, you'd imagine, good enough when the percentages get back to career norms for Carter that he probably can inch up on like top 115 type of value. And if you're sitting on someone like a Steven Adams, who we thought, oh, this guy might be a starter, and now it doesn't look like he actually is anymore, Wendell Carter Jr. would be a guy you could probably pivot to. Because from a health standpoint, this is as good as he's looked in a long time. He's playing 31 minutes a game. That's the most he's played in his career at any point. The last time he played 29 minutes a game, or 30, he was around 9 or 10 rebounds. So that feels attainable. The assists have always kind of been around 2 for him, so that feels attainable. The steals are on the high side. I don't know that it's going to hold at 1.3 per ball game, but the free throws are also extremely low and in large quantity thus far. I expect both of those things to be better, meaning the percentage will get better. The volume will get worse. And he's shooting 33%, which, again, this is a guy that is a career 51%er. And it's not like he's jacking up a ton of threes or anything. It's just he's missing all of his shots. So as much as I'm not a big Wendell Carter Jr. guy, he probably deserves to be on rosters just from the playing time alone, because that can get him into that sort of upper tier of streamer or like lowest tier of everyday starter. Short version is you can pick him up. Jalen Suggs, he's still on a minutes cap, but he looks pretty good actually when he's out there. I don't know how long this whole process is going to take. It's part of the reason that I did not draft him anywhere. I have exactly 0 Jalen Suggses on any of my fantasy teams, and it's because I have no idea what's going to go on with this dude. At some point, he's probably going to be good enough to play. At 20 minutes a game, it's hard to justify it. I mean, he was good enough here, sort of, but I think we need to get him up to like 25, 26 minutes before we deploy him in a games cap format, and I don't know when that's going to be. But if you drafted him against my advice, which is AMA, same as against medical advice, you're kind of stuck. You can't unload him because you won't get anything for him, and nor should you, because you won't get anything for him. Philly, this was the no Joel Embiid game, which was really, I thought, a really nice data point for us, because now you can look at the Philly schedule, and their next back-to-back is next Tuesday, Wednesday. They have another one next Saturday, Sunday, all of this stuff during week 3. So Joel is only going to play 2 games that week, meaning you're going to get 2 games that look a lot like this unless Paul George is back by then. And this is neat. Tyrese Maxey had 43. He's been amazing so far this year. VJ Edgecombe was great again with 26 and 7. Kelly Oubre, we knew he was going to do a lot when Embiid was down. He had 25 and 10 with a steal and 2 blocks. Quentin Grimes was solid, if unspectacular. And everybody was looking at the center position. And on the podcast yesterday, I was like, look, I don't think you guys should be looking. Or maybe it was a tweet. I can't remember. What the hell do I do these days? I said, I don't think you should be looking at the centers that much because Bona and Drummond are going to split the minutes, and they did. You should be looking at who picks up the usage, which is Oubre, Maxey, Edgecombe, and those guys all got to do even a little bit more than usual. And for Oubre, that was enough to push him up and over the line. So you don't need to pick up Kelly right now, but for next week, get yourself ready because there are going to be 2 big Oubre games. Probably. Cleveland blew out Detroit. This game was a mess from a fantasy standpoint. The Cavs that got some stuff before the game ended. Evan Mobley was decent. Donovan Mitchell was very good at scoring, but little else. Jared Allen was fine again. DeAndre Hunter is the guy you should be watching. Sam Merrill, by the way, left this ball game early. You can see on your screen. I'll highlight it so you guys can see it. With a hip issue. I don't know. Will he be back for the next one? Possibly, but you're basically only playing him if you need 3-pointers anyway. The guy you should be paying attention to is DeAndre Hunter, because if, and he's not at full strength yet, he's still kind of ramping up. If he gets to that 30-minute mark before Darius Garland and Max Strus come back, then DeAndre Hunter is going to be playable. I don't know that he's going to get there in time, but I do know that he's probably, I don't know, anywhere from 2 to 5 games away from getting to that marker. He's likely over-rostered from people that are like, oh, DeAndre Hunter, he's going to score a bunch this year. Yeah, but the thing that's happening right now that's likely not going to hold is assists and just like other stuff. I don't think he's going to be a 9-cat guy over the entirety of the season, but I do think there might be a window here coming up at the beginning of the year. So keep an eye on DeAndre Hunter. For Detroit, you can pretty much dump this one. If you had a Piston that didn't have a terrible fantasy game, just thank your lucky stars, which is basically like Jalen Duren wasn't terrible other than the turnovers. And move on. Boston, blowout winners at New Orleans. Finally, the Celtics wake up a little bit. And by the way, if you're wondering, I don't think the Celtics had opened a season 0-5 in like many decades. So this ended up being a pretty big deal for them. If you're wondering about who's playing tonight, you should check it out over at the FanDuel Sportsbook and the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Interesting lines on the card tonight. You got a few spreads that are real tight. New York at Milwaukee. That game's pretty close to a pick'em. New York, I think, by about a point on the road. Clippers favored by 2. Warriors on a back-to-back. That's why, by the way, the Clippers are favored by 2. That should be a good ball game. The biggest spread of the night, Oklahoma City favored by 10.5 over the hapless Sacramento Kings, who really look very bad, and none of us should be surprised about that because they are a team of wildly mismatched pieces, a team of desperation moves. What have you done, Sacramento? Fired your coach, upset your franchise point guard, and now you suck. Womp, womp, womp. Anyway, you can check all that out if you are interested. It's at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Interesting new name on the board here for Boston. And that name is Josh Minott. Or as we're thinking right now, Josh, why not? 28 minutes in that starting power forward spot. Has he fully taken over the job from Sam Hauser? I don't know yet. But this is one of those situations where I think you want to get out a little bit in front of it. We heard a lot of buzz about Minott coming into the season as a guy that seemed to make a lot of sense with what the Celtics were doing. We don't have a great deal of data on what his fantasy game is. He hasn't been in the NBA all that long, and even when he was with the Timberwolves, he played extremely sparingly. So we're kind of going on just the little bits we got in his 3 games he's played for the Celtics so far this year. And so far, he's not taken many 3-pointers. He's made all 5 of his free throws. He has gotten steals at a pretty good rate, and nothing else is really all that predictable from what he's done to this point. You could try to go back and figure out, what he did before the NBA. What is that? It's like a half decade ago now. How many seasons did he even play in college? One? Yeah, one. And he didn't even play all that much. So, good field goal percent in college. Not a great free throw number. Only played 15 minutes a game. So, again, like, what are we getting out of this? But the steals and blocks are actually pretty good in 15 minutes a game. Not great, but fine. I don't think, thinking this one through as I'm talking about it, I don't think you need to pick him up right this second. I think we can wait, watch one more Celtics game, and then make a call at that point. But he's firmly on the watch list. Derek White, buy low territory. He cannot get a shot to drop right now, but they will. And when they do, he's going to come blasting up the ranking board. Not that he's been bad or anything to this point, because he's doing a lot of peripheral stuff. He just can't shoot. Not yet. So he's number 41 in 9-cat. I know, gasp, 41. How awful. While shooting 33%. If you adjust that up into the mid-40s, this guy's an easy second rounder, and maybe you could get him a little bit cheaper than that. I don't know. Anthony Simons finally had a better ball game, but it's mostly just 3-pointers for him and nothing else. Peyton Pritchard, 18 and 8 is solid. Nemias Queta, 11 rebounds, 4 blocks. So he's a hole despite the 22 minutes. The hope is that if this game wasn't a 32-point blowout, that maybe he would have squeaked back in there for another 2 or 3 late. I don't know if that's the case or not. I have low hopes that he can just take that job for the entire season, but he has, again, he's got the best path to it right now. So let's just see where it goes. Hold on to Queta. Pelicans were downright horrible without Zion. They're not good with him, but they were truly awful without him. Jordan Poole had 22. You knew he was going to take a bunch of shots in this game. And the game was such an ugly one that no one else even really got a chance to do anything. So try your best to just swallow this one down. Try to ignore everything that happened in it and move on to the next one, which was another blowout. Lovely. I know. So many blowouts on Monday. But we're going to get data from them best we can. Toronto, Jakob Poeltl, back issues now. If it's not one thing, it's another for this dude. This is the absolute start from hell for Jakob Poeltl, who's been in foul trouble for every single ball game until this one, where he was playing poorly and then got himself hurt. I can't possibly envision a more pronounced buy low than what we have on Jakob Poeltl right now. He's been one of the worst players in all of fantasy basketball at number 311. And like, if you think that's something that's going to hold, I don't know what to tell you. He's missed all of his free throws. I believe he's taken 5, and he's 0 for 5. So 0 for 5 free throw shooting, 23 minutes a game because of fouls and injury. At least he's shooting 59%. He just hasn't even been on the court long enough to do anything. But he'll be fine. They don't have another center, really. Sandro Mamu is the backup center on this club. It's Poeltl. If he can get right and stop fouling people, you can get him. I mean, he might get dropped in some leagues. Try to get him on the ultra cheap. Otherwise, this game was pretty ugly for Toronto. RJ Barrett scored okay. Quickly at least had 7 assists. But like overall, this was just a really, really, really bad ball game. We had a few of those. Wemby was good. Not as eye-poppingly insane as the last couple of ball games, but he's still the number 1 player in fantasy right now, so hard to complain. And we get right back into the same bull crap that I've been talking about and why I didn't draft a single San Antonio Spur beyond Wemby or Fox, because they have 6 guys that are all fighting for the same stuff. There's just a piece of meat right in the middle of the room, and the Spurs are like Barnes, Vassell, Harper, Keldon Johnson, Stephon Castle. Who am I forgetting? Crap. Julian Champagny. You guys all figure this out. So first of all, the blowout had something to do with it in this one, but not one player on the Spurs took more than 12 shots in yesterday's game. Stephon Castle has proven himself to be very adept at getting to the free throw line, and we couldn't be more sick to our stomachs about it because he's shooting a high volume 57%. This is Giannis level bad. He's also averaging 6 turnovers per game, but they're winning because Wemby's so damn good that it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing, and they're getting good looks on offense at the very least. So, okay, you've got this mega punt guy, double punt lunacy. You got Devin Vassell, who is teetering right on the edge of everyday start, which is kind of what we thought he would be and why I didn't draft him, because he was going near 90, and I thought this guy feels like he's going to be around 100. I don't want that. Keldon Johnson somehow is number 80, and it's because he's shooting 64%, which is not going to hold. Dylan Harper looks like he has really interesting fantasy game, but he's buried behind 3 or 4 other guys to get it, and De'Aaron Fox isn't even bad yet. Meanwhile, we knew a Harrison Barnes wake-up game was coming, and this was that one. So more mess. I prefer to avoid it all, if at all possible. Hawks were more competitive in this ball game, probably because they had Kristaps and Jalen Johnson back, but they also look really bad to start the year. Atlanta 1-3. And, I mean, this is a team that had high expectations after picking up some depth in the offseason, but it just hasn't worked so far. Trae Young at least finally had his big 17-assist game, so he woke up here. But that hasn't been able to save his value. Trae Young is number 110 in 9-cat leagues because of his high-volume 36% shooting from the field and because he's at 1.3 three-pointers a game. Here's the thing. You're not going to be able to really buy low on Trae Young because he was getting drafted so high, and the buy low price to me still isn't low enough for straight 9-cat. By the way, he isn't doing poorly right now because of turnovers. He's only at 2.3 turnovers per game. It's because he's not getting steals, he's not getting rebounds, he's not getting threes, and frankly, he isn't even scoring that much. It's going to get better. He's going to be like a top 40 guy, but that's why I told you not to draft him. Jalen Johnson with a good ball game pushes up to number 45. Okongwu has been a revelation so far, even with Porzingis and Jalen Johnson back. Somebody in my Twitter mentions was like, yeah, he's only been good because everybody's been out. Doesn't look like it. He was good again, 18-10. Missed his free throws here, which is weird for him because he's usually a pretty good foul shooter. And he's shooting 58% at the line so far. So if that actually comes back up to his career mark, we're talking about a third rounder. Okongwu looks like he's ready to be possibly the pick. Like, oh man, I'm going to go out on a limb right now, but he looks like maybe the biggest winner so far in all of fantasy basketball. We'll see. Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Dyson Daniels we need to talk about also. Dyson Daniels, who I drafted in exactly 0 places this year, is also the easiest buy low on the board besides Jakob Poeltl. Poeltl I did draft in a bunch of spots, so that one's a harder buy low for me because I have him in a few places already. Dyson Daniels, literally every league I'm in, I could go try to buy low on him. People are drafting him around 45-ish, and I think you could get him for somebody that's in the 70s right now. And then Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Risa Shea was back, but was bad. I don't know. I just think those guys are going to be fighting each other for minutes, so I'm not going to go down the Alexander-Walker rabbit hole. Your Chicago Bulls off to a good start. They're 3-0 without Kobe White, and it's because Trey Jones is maybe the best player in all of fantasy basketball. He's number 24, if we're going to be less hyperbolic. 13 points, 4 boards, 8 assists, 3+ steals a game. He doesn't hit threes, but he does hit his field goals. Trey Jones has been amazing, and we knew he was going to be a really good fill-in for Kobe White. So just keep riding it. Vooch has been amazing again also. I dodged him in a lot of drafts this year because I'm really worried about the second half of his season. I think we all knew the first half was going to be fine. That was never the question mark with Vooch. Second half is going to be, I don't want to say bad necessarily. I'm just kind of worried about it. Josh Giddey, 18-13-5. He's slowly coming around. He's number 120, mostly because his percentages have been very bad on high volume. Those will be fine. The 19-9-6 is what you're really looking at with him. And so when the percentages come around, it's going to be a really good year for Giddey. So don't worry about Josh. He's fine. You're not even going to be able to buy low because the counting stats are so high. Kevin Huerter was someone we discussed briefly on yesterday's show. I thought, this guy's like inching close to it. I said on Twitter I would only start him against a games cap if Giddey was out. Otherwise, I think you can probably play him in head-to-head volume spots for scoring and threes and some Ds and whatever. And so that's your Kevin Huerter report. Io had a good ball game. I'm not playing him unless Giddey's out also. And then Modest Bazelis, 16-5-3, no blocks. He's a guy that I felt like he was getting way overdrafted by the end of draft season. I didn't mark him in red. I just left him as sort of like white neutral on the sheet, but I really liked him at 120. I thought he was worth a pick at 107. And then once he started going in the 70s and 80s, I was like, what are we doing here anymore? What do we think this guy is? Like, he was top 50 at the end of last year because he was shooting 50% from the field and 80 something at the free throw line. But there was nothing about his fantasy profile to suggest that those were repeatable numbers. You had to adjust down for that. So I was like, I think this guy's top 75 in a pretty reasonable case scenario, but he's getting drafted at 75. That's not what I want at that spot. There are guys going at 75 that I thought had a chance to be top 50, top 40, like OG Anunoby was in that range, Donovan Clingan, Asar Thompson. I'm not going to take Buzelis. And then I had everybody, like a lot of my leagues, people were clawing over each other to get Buzelis even earlier. Like, what are you guys doing, man? What do you guys see that I don't? It's got to be the blocked shots. Which again, I like that stuff, and I like his fantasy profile, threes, blocks, that kind of thing. But I didn't see the 50% shooting coming, and he's not a rebounder. I don't know. He's going to be better than he's been so far. I just don't think he's going to beat his ADP. Brooklyn got blown out, and this is a look into the crystal ball of the Brooklyn Nets, where Cam Thomas plays 25 minutes and MPJ plays 28, and a bunch of young guys get to do stuff. And Nick Claxton only goes 23, and Day'Ron Sharpe looks really damn good in 22 minutes a ball game. But you're not going to get this for a while. So don't do anything with this box score. Just know that the future has a Day'Ron Sharpe pickup in it. The question is it going to be January, February, or March? Houston thumped them, so we didn't get a full game out of the Rockets. But Şengün was solid, made his free throws. That was the most important thing if you're looking for Şengün's start to continue. He's number 22 so far. Tari Eason looked better. He was a hold all the way through, and he's still a hold, so no surprise there. Reed Shepherd looked really good coming off the bench, but some of this was blowout related. 15 points, 8 assists, 3 threes. Keep an eye on Reed, and he's on rosters, so you're not going to be able to pick him up anyway. I don't think anybody dropped him that drafted him. He was not a guy that I was hard charging during draft season, although it does look like he got dropped in one of my leagues. That's kind of surprising. All right. I'm going to keep that browser tab open to see if I want to do anything with that. I think there's a chance that he could be useful as this season goes. I just don't think this game is a good microcosm of it. The more important thing here is that Josh Okogie started in place of Steven Adams. They went away from the double big lineup. You don't need to pick up Okogie, but you do need to drop Steven Adams. There's no point in holding him if he's not a starter. And then Jabari Smith Jr. should stay on rosters. Amen Thompson is a buy low, but you're not going to be able to get him for anything less than a third rounder anyway. And that, I think, is your Rockets report. Kevin Durant, I guess you could also call a buy low, but he's Kevin Durant, so I don't know how low you really be able to get him. Guys, just a quick mid-show reminder that I do have the micro Patreon going right now. We are up over 200. My goal, I think, is 500. I have not yet announced any kind of subscriber pod, but that's probably going to be coming not related to fantasy basketball. So stay tuned for that. It is $1 a month. If I've won you a league in the past where you won, I don't know, over $100, $1 a month should be pretty easy. And that gets us to a point here at Old Man Squad, me personally, really, where I can make sure to pay all my childcare. That's all I'm looking for. I don't need you guys to pay anything else for me. I just want to be break even. If I can break even, I'll do this for free for everybody forever. Patreon.com/oldmansquad. Link is in the show description along with the Google Sheet, my Twitter handle @DanBespris, and all of our proud partners here on Old Man Squad. Fantasy basketball. Oklahoma City continues to be a good basketball team. Thunder are 4-0. They haven't skipped a beat since winning the title last year. Chet Holmgren, 18-11 and 4 blocks. He's been great. He was a guy that, again, I was so high on when he was going in the 30s, which, by the way, is where he finished at number 30. And he's panning out beautifully so far. Chet is number 16. And There's everything to like there. Hartenstein's been solid. Shea finally had kind of a pedestrian game. Still good, mind you, but not as good as it had been. Cason Wallace slowed down a little bit here, but he'll be fine. Lou Dort is terrible at fantasy basketball. Aaron Wiggins and AJ Mitchell are guys that, I don't know, man. Like, I think these are guys that, without a ton of explanation, these are guys I would prefer to use in volume head-to-head spots and not against a Roto Games cap. If you have more confidence in them than I do, have at it, but it is a back-to-back yesterday, today, so this would have been the time to play those guys. Cooper Flagg hurt his shoulder. I don't mean to bury the lead, but he says he's going to be fine for their next ball game. We'll see. He's probably going to get some imaging done. This is a really bad ball game for Cooper. This is probably going to be the hardest matchup he has throughout his rookie campaign. And he is, by all accounts, a buy low. But we knew this was going to happen. Not necessarily as bad as this particular game, but we knew it was going to be a hard start to the year. Rookies don't just come in and dominate right out of the chute, other than apparently VJ Edgecombe, who I still think is due for a pretty hard regression coming up. But Cooper's going to be so much better than this. He's going to be great. I don't know what it would cost to get him. I doubt that anybody that drafted him is like, oh, yeah, I'm ready to give up on Cooper Flagg right now. Because pretty much anybody that drafted him was targeting him. You have to think about that. It's kind of the mental side of who you're trying to pry away from a player. It's very different, I think, than the Jakob Poeltl, Dyson Daniels buy low, because those guys just fell into fantasy drafters' laps sometimes. I liked Poeltl. He was the guy I personally targeted. But like Dyson Daniels, I specifically told you guys, don't worry about this, dude. Go get your steals later on. So someone probably took him in the 4th round and was like, yeah, this seems like a perfectly fine place for him. And they're going to be much cooler about letting him go, as opposed to Cooper Flagg. Someone was like, ooh, Cooper, this guy, I want this dude. They're going to hold on tighter. So where with Dyson, you might be able to get him for somebody ranked 75th that you drafted at 95. Cooper Flagg, someone's going to have a high rank. But worth a shot, I think, right now. And it's probably not going to get a whole lot worse than 2 points, 2 boards, 2 steals, and exits with a shoulder injury. Mavs had none of their quote-unquote centers available for this game. So Anthony Davis slid up to the 5, and, everybody else was fine. Max Christie started, but who cares? PJ Washington played 38 minutes, and if that's going to be happening all year, then he definitely needs to be on rosters. I thought the bigger story here was D'Angelo Russell playing 30 minutes again. He had 10 assists in the ball game, couldn't hit a shot to save his life, but deserves an ad after 2 good ball games, so put D'Lo on your board as one of your ads of the night. Phoenix and Utah went to overtime. The Jazz are 2-1. Failed tanking experiments, which, look, I love the fact that Lauri Markkanen popped off for 50, but I don't want the Jazz winning. If they win ball games, they're going to shut these guys down. Markkanen and Walker Kessler are first rounders in 9-cat right now. I'm terrified that these guys are going to get benched. They can't, guys, you got to stop Utah. You got to stop winning games. It's not that year yet. We'll get to Utah in a second. Phoenix first. Grayson Allen had 23. Devin Booker had 34 and 10. No big surprises there. Mark Williams ramped up to 31 minutes in overtime, 25 and 11. I like the line, but I'm very worried about what that means for his playing time in the next couple of ball games, but hopefully he'll be okay. Colin Gillespie doubled, 15 and 13. If he ever slides into the starting 5, we'll give him a look, but off the bench, I am not interested. But a guy I am interested in is Royce O'Neal. If Dylan Brooks has to miss any more time with his groin soreness, Royce would be the guy to make a pickup on. He's probably going to get added in a bunch of fantasy leagues. Just know that this is a temporary fix. And, I mean, that works for a lot of teams. Phoenix goes every other day this week, so the schedule's fine this week. Next week, they only have a 3-gamer. I'm assuming Dylan Brooks will be back in the next few ball games, maybe even sooner than that. So probably don't do anything today, but you might be making a Royce ad tomorrow if he can give you a near triple-double again. As far as Utah goes, the Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler risks have really paid off nicely so far. I did not take either of those guys in head-to-head. No, that's not true. I have one Walker Kessler. I took him, I think, in a punt free throw situation on the head-to-head side. I took plenty of these guys in games cap leagues. So I was like, whatever, they're going to get shut down with a month to go. But if they can get me to 60 ball games or thereabouts, then they beat their totals mark, or they at least get close to it. And this has been obviously much better than expected. Markkanen, I thought, was one of the better risks going near 70. And this brings us back to a different discussion. Lowry's pre-rank was 57. I never saw him go at 57 in any league that I was in. I got him almost by accident, frankly. I got Lauri Markkanen. I want to find out the exact number, but I'm pretty sure that it was around the end of the 6th round in, I'm pretty sure, multiple, I think 2 of my Games Cap Roto leagues. And at that point, I was like, I'm actually really excited about this pick. Because at that, like, you're talking about a guy that when he's focused, he's a second rounder. And I don't care if he quits with a month and a half to go in a Games Cap league. If I get 4.5 months of a second rounder that I took at the end of the 6th, that's a massive win. Keontae George, man, I don't know what to tell you guys right now. He looks like a new man. He still can't hit a field goal to save his life, but he's at 20-10 so far this year with 95% free throw shooting. What? I know. That's ridiculous. So there's a few things going on. Number one, he might have gotten a little bit better. You guys will be surprised to find I actually do have Keontae George in one league where I'm punting field goal. And that's what I told you during the draft season. I was like, this guy's a punt field goal super darling. But in most cases, I don't punt field goals, so I generally don't end up with a ton of him. It's pretty important, I think, to look at the career marks for Keontae George. I know he hasn't been around for that long. This is his 3rd season in the NBA. But field goal percent up from 39 to 42. That feels like something that maybe could hold, which is surprising too, by the way, because he's shooting 18% from 3. So he's just had a really good start from 2 so far this year. 95% of the free throw line is not going to hold. He's 83.5%er in his career. Even if that goes up a little bit, 95, is going to come down somewhere into the 80s. The 10 assists per game is also almost definitely not going to stick. Some of that is because his teammates are just hitting shots right now. Some of it is because of overtime, so he's playing 35 minutes a game. This is a guy that is going to come down from where he's at right now. The question isn't whether or not he's going to come down. The question is how far. Because right now, in straight 9-cat, he's a 5th rounder. In 9-cat with a punt field goal build, he's like almost top of the board. I think he's a 3rd rounder. So he's having a brilliant start. I expect him to come off of this. The assists will probably come down from 10 to 7. The free throw will come down by probably 6 to 10%. And if Isaiah Collier ends up logging a bunch of point guard minutes, then that could also put a little bit of a dent in it. I think the usage could stay relatively high. I'm not that worried about the scoring. Should be a relatively high scoring year with Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, and John Collins all gone. I just think the other stuff is coming down. So you're probably looking at more like a top 100 9-cat guy and maybe top 60 punt field goal guy. So I don't know if that makes sense as a sell high, or it might just make sense to hold on. Kyle Filipowski is on my chopping block. I'll give him one more game. His minutes are not that high reliably. He's splitting time with like the entire bench. And if you can't get more than 20 minutes in an overtime game, that does not speak too highly of where you're going to be. Yusuf Nurkic actually got a bunch of playing time in this one. Go figure. And then Taylor Hendricks presumably is going to ramp up, and Ace Bailey is going to ramp up. Told you guys, don't draft rookies. It works one time a year, usually. And you never, it's hard to know which one it's going to be. It's Edgecombe so far. It'll be Cooper Flagg also at some point. But don't ask me what to do with Ace Bailey if I told you don't draft Ace Bailey. I don't have an answer for you. Denver lost Cam Johnson partway through this ball game to shoulder soreness. How many guys are going to have shoulder crap to start the year? I'm very annoyed and very frustrated. I'm getting a lot of what to do questions. He got hurt, guys. Hold on. If he plays the other half of this ball game, then he's at 10 shots a game, which is fine. Jamal Murray's probably not going to take 29 shots most ball games. There's usually going to be more of an even split, but teams are playing Denver differently, and so different things are happening on a night-to-night basis. You're holding Aaron Gordon. You're holding Cam Johnson. You're holding Christian Brown. You're giving a look at Tim Hardaway Jr. in volume situations as the Cam Johnson fill-in option, who played 32 minutes and had 20 points because he's not going to be bashful out there. And then, like, obviously, Jokic and Jamal Murray are very, very good at basketball. And I don't know. I'm just tired of the same message over and over again. Jokic, by the way, is number 3. Aaron Gordon's number 11, and Jamal Murray's number 14. Yeah. Nuggets have been a bit more concentrated on 3 guys than we expected to start the year, but it'll be fine. Everybody just chill. We're 1 week into the season. Game 1 for Minnesota without Anthony Edwards was basically what we expected. I thought Rudy Gobert would be better than this, but then Denver didn't miss any shots, so hard to play defense and get rebounds if there aren't any rebounds to get. Jaden McDaniels was better than when Ant is in. Julius Randle was actually, believe it or not, kind of about the same as when Anthony Edwards is around. Mike Conley went from being a complete afterthought to being still not good enough to start, but at least he's on the radar now. Naz Reid was the guy I talked about in all my tweets as the guy I thought, well, this guy's usage is going to go up the most out of anybody, and it did. And then Dante DiVincenzo I thought would be a little bit better than this, but he's good enough to hang on to, and that is your Timberwolves report. The Grizzlies got a pretty good game out of Jock Landale, but he was throwing a perfecto, and that's not going to happen every night, so you can leave him on the wire. Santi Aldama is showing signs of life, but 22 minutes ain't enough, so not yet. Cedric Coward's been getting a lot of attention. I don't think he can do what he's been doing all season long, and this game feels like one that was due. He's also due to shoot not as great in an upcoming ball game. So I like Aldama, Coward, Landale, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jalen Wells. I wouldn't use any of these guys outside of really good scheduling spots for the Grizzlies, which if you're wondering when those might come up, the answer is like now is actually not bad. Not today necessarily, but starting tomorrow, they go 3 times the rest of this week, 4 next week, and then 2 games Tuesday, Wednesday, the week after that. So not a bad scheduling spot for Memphis, but not guys that I'm targeting particularly sharply. And let's just hope that Memphis is competitive, because that would be better for Ja Morant and for Jaren Jackson. And they haven't been super competitive so far. I don't know. They're 2-2, so it's not the end of the world. I just haven't been particularly impressed. Warriors feel like they're playing a lot of basketball games. I know that's only 4, and a lot of teams have played 4 by this point, but it just feels like the Warriors are playing every day. Moses Moody came off the bench for 20. Watch list. Brandon Podziemski finally got himself involved on offense because Steph Curry, he didn't need to do anything. This feels more like an anomaly than a sign of things to come, because the Warriors got quieter usage games from Steph and Jimmy Butler, but Podziemski does belong on radars at the very least. We were hoping he would have a better season than he was to this point. I don't know that you need to re-add him necessarily. I mean, again, signs of life. It's not nothing. Fine. Re-add him. Kuminga, hold. Good ball game. I don't know why I would even need to tell you that. And then that's your Warriors. And the last game from yesterday, while I remind you once again to please subscribe on your way out. We are like 8 subs away from 10,000, which is incredible. I cannot believe we're about to get there, and it could be you. You don't get anything for doing it, though. Lakers are absurdly shorthanded right now. That's a team that should be thrilled to be 2-2 at this part of the year. And Portland took advantage of it, as they should. Drew Holiday has been awesome. Even better than I could have expected. And you guys know, I was talking about Drew Holiday the entire offseason. Nobody talked about that old dude more than old Dan Besbris. And remember, he opened up fantasy draft season with a pre-rank of like 100 no, he actually opened at 118, and I was targeting pretty hard there. And then he fell to 135, and I was like, this is my favorite play on the board. And then he went up to 81, and I was like, I don't know, man. Scoot's going to come back eventually. And he fell back to that like 105, 106 range, and I didn't get as much of him as I wanted to because other people wanted him with Scoot out, and the Scoot thing kind of screwed up Drew Holiday for me. But regardless, hopefully you guys got him in more places than I did because I talked about him a lot. He's been amazing. Denny Avdia is starting to come on. Signs of life there is good. He's number 52, and I don't think he's really been all that good yet. Donovan Clingan, 16 and 14, a steal and 2 blocks. He's number 31, guys, and I don't think Klingon's even really gotten going so far this year. Shaden Sharp, points league darling. Jeremy Grant, red hot coming off the bench right now, shooting 57% from the field, 83 at the foul line on 7.5 attempts per game. He's at 2.1 defensive stats also. And that, I guess, is a thing that might be better this year. Knowing his role, knowing the Blazers are trying to be competitive, there was always the outside chance that Jeremy Grant was going to be a little bit better this season, but that field goal percent is not going to hold, and he doesn't rebound or pass. So a steep drop off is coming. If you can sell high on Jeremy Grant, it's one of the preeminent sell highs in fantasy basketball right now. And then Toumani Camara shooting just 38% from the field. He'll be fine as soon as that number gets up into the mid 40s, at which point he will be, that would probably push him up to like around top 80, 85 right now. And if his field goal attempts come up from 9.3 to 10, that's how he gets inside the 75, which was our target for Camara. And I'm not worried. Lakers are down to really like Austin Reeves and a bunch of duct tape at this point. That's not true. DeAndre Ayton's still alive. But Reeves had 41. He can't possibly do more than he's doing right now. What's his rank in fantasy? 6? Yeah, that's fine. That's obviously not going to last because Luka's going to come back and LeBron's going to come back. I still think he's a top 30 guy even when the team is healthy, but obviously right now he's being forced to go buck wild. The more important things to think about with the Lakers are, what's DeAndre Ayton doing? And the answer is getting better every moment. His fantasy value right now is artificially low because he's, I think, 2 for 16 at the free throw line. No, that's not right. 2 for 7? Nope. Yeah. I think he's 2 for 7 at the free throw line so far this year with 3 turnovers a game. And that stuff like is very clearly not going to hold. So let's assume that DeAndre Ayton is league average in free throws and turnovers. Even with the kind of slow start, the first couple of ball games, that still puts him in the 6th round, which is where he was being drafted. So I'm actually kind of excited about it. And this is without Luka getting him even more open looks or LeBron getting him open looks. They're figuring it out. Other things to think about with the Lakers. Rui Hachimura, playable without LeBron and without Luka. He's not exciting. He's number 116 right now because he hasn't really rebounded at all. Hopefully that's a number that improves just a tiny bit. I think the steals and blocks probably will be just a little bit better than where they've been at. So Rui's probably a top 100 fill-in play. Jared Vanderbilt is a notable one who moved into playing time with Marcus Smart out. I think we all thought Jake LaRavia was going to be a guy that did a bunch yesterday, and he got 6 boards and 5 assists, but he shot 1 for 6 and was flat out terrible. Vanderbilt is the guy. If he's starting, Vanderbilt's a guy you got to play because you just know per minute he's going to do stuff. Where with LaRavia, you kind of need him to shoot a little bit. Vanderbilt, you're going to get boards. You're going to get steals. You're going to get all that insane hustle stuff. But let's see, obviously, if Marcus Smart is back in the next one. It doesn't sound like he considers himself all that hurt. This was the second half of a back-to-back. They play again tomorrow in Minnesota. Lakers knocking out a lot of their Wolves games early this year. Then they're in Memphis on Friday before another back-to-back. So hopefully they get Marcus Smart back for those. I'm not picking him up. That's not why I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful because he'll make this team a lot better. But if they don't for any of those ball games, Vando's the guy you would want to parachute into your lineup for a really nice rebounds and steals kick from a guy who has minimal offensive game, but against teams that are missing key guys and or playing really fast or whatever. And so you've got some opportunity there. And that is your recap. Plenty of names to tide you over from yesterday's show. If you guys want to do, here's the sort of quick hitter. This isn't everybody, but the quick hitter is Kelly Oubre. Make sure you're prepped for the Joel Embiid missed games. Josh Minot in Boston watch list. Dyson Daniels buy low. Jakob Poeltl buy low. Trey Jones is my favorite player on earth right now. Tari Eason is alive. Steven Adams is a drop. D'Lo's an ad. Royce O'Neal is your fill-in guy. Markkanen dropped 50. Norman Powell just got downgraded to questionable, which sucks. That would, I would think, would really open things up for Andrew Wiggins. Brandon Pajemski back on the radar, more of a speculative ad. Cam Johnson hurt, but hang on. Drew Holiday's the best. And Vando is your fill-in on that late game. Thanks for watching, everybody. Subscribe on your way out. I'm Dan Besbris, somehow making it through today's shows despite staying up late watching the World Series. I have another show idea coming up in a little bit. It is injury board related, which you can access in the very free Google Sheet. Go do that now. See you guys soon.